Something happened in Trinidad and Tobago on Sunday that political observers have been predicting for a while now. The Movement for Social Justice, MSJ, pulled out of the ruling People's Partnership Coalition, and its leader, David Abdulah, resigned his Senate seat. It came as no surprise to those who've been following Abdullah's ever louder criticisms of the KAMLA PERSAD BISSESSAR administration. And now to discuss these developments, we're joined on the phone by the man himself, David Abdulah. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, Mr. Abdulah, what brought you and your party to the point where you said you simply cannot be a part of the government anymore?
Well, essentially, it is over the direction of the government in terms of its approach to governance. As you know, it's a five-party, or was up until Sunday, a five-party coalition. And in 2010, as a coalition, we made very important commitments to the people of Trinidad and Tobago in two founding documents. One, which brought the partnership as a coalition into existence, and secondly, the manifesto for the 2010 general election campaign. And in those documents, we outlined a number of policies, principles, and statements of values. And the MSJ has been concerned that we have not been adhering as a partnership to those fundamental tenets, and in particular to the commitment to begin to change the governance, the practice and culture of governance in the country. And ultimately, we decided that we couldn't be a part of the coalition if, in our view, the government was not keeping to what we believe was a social contract with the citizens of the country.
But Mr. Abdulah, I got the impression that the Prime Minister was, at least publicly, said that she was committed to reform. She said that she would reshuffle the cabinet and that she would review the state boards. And you yourself were quoted in the media in Trinidad as saying that you thought that she was taking it seriously. What changed between May 24th and Sunday?
We do believe that the statement by the Prime Minister on the 24th at her rally, or the partnership's rally to commemorate the second anniversary, was in response to the statement that we issued on the 21st of May, saying that these things were going wrong. However, we did not think that there was going to be a significant shift, that while you could have cabinet realignments and so on, because the word that she used was not a cabinet reshuffle, but a realignment of portfolios, which could really, mean many different things. And also in terms of the state board review. But there was no process of engagement of the political leaders of the five parties in the coalition to discuss not necessarily the details of the cabinet reshuffle, but some of the bases upon which changes would be made. And so, there was no mechanism for the discussion of an approach that would have been different. So that's one. And secondly, quite frankly, we didn't get a sense, based upon other statements that were being made, that there would have been any significant change in the approach. In other words, if you want to review the state boards, it wasn't only a matter of reviewing the performance of the state boards, which is what she said, but really making a significant change to the process by which members of state boards would be chosen. Because if you choose badly in the first place for the directors of boards, then things go wrong from then on. And so it was not only reviewing performance, but really we were calling for something deeper, which is changing the process by which board appointments were being made.
Now, some of the headlines in Trinidad throughout the week, especially on Monday, quote the Prime Minister describing you as impossible, unreasonable, and reckless. She even accused you of isolationist thinking. Now, I don't get the impression that these problems existed when Mr. McLeod was leader of the MSJ. Is it you who is the problem?
No, I don't think so at all. In fact, the Prakash Ramadab, who's a minister of the government, has also openly stated that they have concerns about what is taking place in the government in terms of the culture and practice of governance. So I don't think it's limited to me at all. Furthermore, I engaged in 5 meetings as political leader of the MSJ during a period of March to May of this year. And at least in 4 of those meetings, the issues are now being described as unreasonable, impossible, and reckless. Those issues were put on the table of the political leaders meeting. That was part of the agenda. And at no time during our deliberations on those matters was there any statement that what we were asking for was impossible, unreasonable, or reckless. So this was a post facto statement, in other words, following the our decision to withdraw and my resignation.
Well, she was trying to keep good faith with you because you guys were still a part of the coalition, wouldn't you say?
Well, the thing, though, is that if these things were unreasonable, then we should have been told that and so on, rather than pretend to go through a process and then, not having anything. But these, and yesterday, one of my trade union colleagues, Ansel Rozier, read out what those 10 issues were. For example, dealing with the issue of contract labor positions in the public service, a policy position on that, the issue of settling of negotiations. We did not suggest what the settlement figure should be, but we that are still outstanding in the state sector and public service need to be resolved in a fair way, in an equitable way, and with regard to free collective bargaining. That cannot be unreasonable or reckless. And the issue of local government reform, which were commitments made in the manifesto 2 years ago, and nothing really has happened there. Those can't be unreasonable or reckless if they were part of the commitment that we made on the issue to the population in the manifesto. So, and I could go through all 10 of the issues that we identified.
Oh, I brought up Mr. ERROL McLeod earlier, who was the previous leader of the MSJ. Explain to me, because I'm not quite certain how this works. The MSJ has withdrawn itself from the coalition. You resigned your Senate seat, but he hasn't resigned. How does that work in the House now, in Parliament? Well,
okay, first, there's some parameters there. We have not, as a party, taken any decision that, Mr. McLeod, or that we are calling on him to resign or any such thing like that. Minister McLeod, as Minister of Labour, has an important mandate with respect to the pursual of major labor legislation reform, and we will be supporting him in that.
So he now effectively becomes a part of the opposition?
No. He remains a Minister of Government, a member of the Cabinet, and a member of the government.
But the coalition isn't, but the MSJ isn't part of the coalition, so I'm a bit confused.
That's right. So he would not, he was actually elected as a member of the MSJ and chairman of the party at the time, and our candidate in that sense. The symbol which he used in the election campaign was not our symbol. It was actually a UNC symbol, because he had been registered just weeks before the general election of 2010. And so, not to confuse the electorate, both ourselves and the National Joint Action Committee decided, as two parties in the coalition, that we would not use our party symbols, but use the symbols of either the UNC or the Congress of the People. Which had both of which had significant support in the 2007 general election.
No, where do you and the party go from here?
Essentially, we are going to be doing a lot of political party building, which is not just for ourselves getting membership, but is also engaging in a process with citizens of the country where they live and where they work, to discuss with them their concerns, their aspirations, and the kind of policies to create a new governance culture and institutions in Trinidad and Tobago going forward. We are trying to build a party that is non-ethnic, to cut across the ethnic divide that has plagued our politics for 55 years, since our franchise many years ago. And this is what we're going to be working towards.
And quickly, is there anything that can entice you back into the People's Partnership Coalition?
Well, no, I mean, I don't really engage in speculation, but at this moment, no, our decision has been made, and we are pursuing our independent path and paddling our own canoe.
All right, well, thank you very much, Mr. Abdulah, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
As David Abdulah, the leader of the Movement for Social Justice, MSJ, there in Trinidad, and that party, as you may have heard or surmised by now, has withdrawn from the People's Partnership Coalition led by Prime Minister KAMLA PERSAD BISSESSAR.